Well, I think the testimony that can put a boy into the podcasting chair should be that accurate. 12 Angry Men is coming up next.
Haven't Seen It with Tim Sestito and Tommy Tevenet. Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. Thank you all so much for listening today. This is a podcast where one of us is watching a movie for the very first time, and today that is Tommy. My second watch.
Your first watch was a month ago.
My first watch was a month ago. We've learned over almost 3 years of doing the podcast. This will be the third year of the podcast. We've learned how to stretch the truth in terms of our watching timeline. It's like, oh, I saw this great movie a month ago. Let's cover it. Like, it's awesome. It rocks.
There's been so many times we've done that, like Basic Instinct, like Kindergarten Cop. We've done that before where it's just like randomly on a Saturday morning, one of us will just watch a movie randomly and be like, we should cover this on a podcast. So here we go.
Yeah, 100%. That's kind of our big thing that we do sometimes. We stretch the truth out here. But 12 Angry Men, what was your initial response to it? And what kind of relationship did you have with the movie? Because it's a legendary movie.
Yeah, so it's a movie obviously I've never seen before. I haven't seen any other versions. My one experience with this material was the Family Guy episode, which I remember Family Guy did a whole episode that was just a parody of this. And it wasn't even that funny from what I remember. It was like that weird era where Family Guy was trying to be like serious, like have serious episodes. It's like Family Guy.
It's like they took the South Park criticism to heart a little bit too much, you know? And then they discovered recently, like, oh, maybe don't do that. Like, just work on your silly cutaways, Family Guy. It works wonders for you.
We're okay with the Manti gags. It's fine.
I don't need Quagmire giggity giggity all over 12 Angry Men. I think it's fine. But it's definitely a movie that's been parodied to death. Really, like, just tremendous acting. And I love how, like, the movie is sequential. And if you've never seen 12 Angry Men, the plot is a boy is being set for a murder trial against his father. The jury has to decide unanimously if they're going to send him to the death penalty, find him guilty, or not guilty. And the first vote comes around, and only one juror stands alone saying not guilty, and the movie goes from there. Really remarkable, like, in that filmmaking. But we'll get into all that. I'm very excited. I'm very excited.
But for real quick, to answer your question, if someone had never seen the movie before, loved it. It was great. I feel like I put this movie off for a while because I expected it to be like, oh, it's set in one room. Like, how fucking engaging can this be? Turns out, really engaging because Sidney Lumet, his first directorial debut, excellent. He did a great job. So he made it something compelling out of like just one room, which could easily be shot like a play.
Hey, it's a stage play, right? Like, that's pretty much what they took here, and they made it into a really engaging film, which is not always easy to do. But Tommy, tell me, what did you watch recently? I know we saw each other over Thanksgiving break, and we watched The Last Waltz together. That was our shared experience. Movie roulette.
Yeah, movie roulette. We don't mention the fact that we played Mario Party while we had The Last Waltz on, but we're cinephiles, we swear. So I want to discuss a movie I watched for the first time recently, about a week ago, Before Sunrise. I think this might be a movie we cover in the future. It's a movie that, directed by Richard Linklater, Ethan Hawke, and Julie Delpy. And basically the whole movie is Ethan Hawke meets Julie Delpy on a train, and he starts talking to her. And then he says, hey, my stop is right next. Do you want to get on this train with me? And she says, yeah. And the whole movie is just them walking around Italy and like Vienna, I think specifically. And it is probably one of the most engaging things I've saw of just two characters just talking throughout, just dialogue filled. Richard Linklater, I think, is like the best director for like just having characters have a conversation and be extremely compelling and just extremely like romantic and everything. It's a movie I think we'll cover in the future, but like I just loved every little piece of it.
I've had the Before trilogy on my watch list. I just recently gained access to my Letterbox account. Shout out Tommy for scrolling through 10,000 pages and finding my account name because I was logged out of the page and I didn't. I like tried
This is what
three different
happens when we
things.
meet in person.
We meet in person, and I was just like, Tommy, give me your phone.
You want to check your Letterboxd account?
Yeah, and I scroll because we were doing movie roulette. I'm like, oh, what are some movies that I have on my letterbox? And then I couldn't find them.
Yeah.
And then Tommy threw me his phone. I scrolled like halfway through it. I'm like, I can't find it. And then you just went like 5 seconds later. I was like, all right, I found your account. It's like, cool.
To be fair, it was like the first account I think I followed was
yeah.
you, so
we're probably like the first accounts that we followed was each other on Letterboxd.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. Now I can utilize that better, more efficiently. Yeah, I really want to cover the Before trilogy on there because it's Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, and then there's Before Midnight. I think is the
I think Before
one?
Midnight's the last one. I definitely want to watch the other two, like definitely soon. I think Richard Linklater is just such an amazing director, and he just has like a way of dialogue that feels so natural. So, highly recommend checking that out.
Yeah, I caught the biggest movie. Well, I saw two big movies, Tommy. In one hand, I have Wicked, and in the other hand, I have Gladiator 2.
Glicken.
Glicken, but I don't want to do a. Do you have any? Are you thinking of going to see any of those in the next week that we can maybe discuss them on another week? If you're going to go see.
I might see. What's it called? Gladiator 2. I'm definitely thinking of seeing Gladiator 2.
Right.
Wicked, I have no intention. Even my girlfriend, who's like a musical theater nerd, is just like, no, we don't need to see
All right. So I'll dive into Wicked then. Interesting movie. Have you ever seen the Broadway play?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so. So they like changed the plot of it. So they stretched this out. Like this is 2 hour 40-minute movie. I think the Broadway play is like 2 hours 15 minutes, if that, with like an intermission in there. And this is just part one. Like this is the first act of the play. They stretch it out, and they changed the main plot. Like it's the Wicked West of the West and Glinda, like from the.
Are you very familiar with the Broadway play? Like, have you seen it?
Yeah, I saw the Broadway play. Well, so fun fact, I saw the Broadway play, and then, but it was in college. We had these $25 like Broadway tickets. So like you go to the student center. Buy them, they take you on a bus to like a Sunday matinee. Well, I was like 19, 20, whatever I was. And I may have stayed out till like 2:33 in the morning the night before.
Some other things happen.
So doesn't matter why. I was doing good things, I'm sure. Mom, definitely. And then I decided, like, I went on the bus. The Broadway show started. I think I got through 30 minutes of it, and then I passed out. And then I woke up through Defying Gravity with like the like that whole thing. Like, so like I did a little Wikipedia research afterwards, and so they added like the whole thing was like Glinda and everybody was just really mean to the Wicked Witch of the West, and like that's kind of the Broadway show. It's just very catty. And then in this one, they added this whole like animals rights things, but it's like obviously like a metaphor for humans and like human persecution. And I was like, this is kind of weird. Like you kind of had a really good thing going. It's like one of the most popular Broadway plays of all time. Like, why mess with it? I know why you mess with it, because you want to add one or two more songs so that way it can be nominated for best original soundtrack at the Oscars, right? Like you have to do these little things in your movies to make sure that you get the nominations that you think you're rightfully deserved. It's pretty good. If you really like the music's great, like it sounds great. I have two major problems, issues, if you will, with the movie. One is the blocking. It is a poorly filmed musical translation. It cuts too much. It's a musical. I want to see people dancing. I want to see people doing things. I don't need to see like weird CGI stuff. Like it's a musical theater translation. Like give me the musical theater.
It's a Broadway play. Like
give me the musical. But it just like it doesn't like I think of La La Land and I think of like the opening to La La Land, right? When they do when they're on the bridge.
Oh, incredible.
And it's incredible. And like the way it just pans through the crowd, it all feels like it's one take, even though it's not. And then there's so many like wide takes of everybody dancing. Like the movie's very individualized in that way in terms of like during the music and dancing. It's like not that riveting. And my second thing is that, and this has been said before, but for like the Wizard of Oz, which is like Technicolor defined, like why does it feel so gradient? Like why does it feel? Why do the colors feel so
Because
muted?
you look at the sets like online, they look like so colorful,
Yeah,
and the
it looks
trailers look so
it looks
gray.
incredible. Like I don't have like a major gripe with Wicked. Like I honestly, when it was coming out and it was releasing, and then like I know there was that awkward press tour with Ariana Grande and Cynthia. I just can't remember her last name, but she was also great in that, in Wicked. But like where they were doing like the most awkward tours ever,
Yeah.
like
Oh,
interview tours. It was very strange, but I kind of thought, oh, this might bomb, and then it didn't, and it's pretty good. I was thankfully in a theater where people weren't singing. I was a little bit
oh god.
I was a little bit
Wait, do you see those like tweets about like there's some tweet someone said that was like, if you're going to Wicked, like just expect people to sing. Like, it's not your
no.
first time.
You're in a movie theater. Shut up!
Exactly.
I'm paying to hear professionals in a recorded studio booth sing this. I'm not here to hear somebody
I'm
who's out
sorry
of
you didn't get the role of Glenda the Good Witch when you're in like fucking junior year of high school.
yeah, and the
You
people.
don't need to take it out on me in this movie theater.
Also, this is one of those movies that I can't. I like was scrolling Twitter and just people are just like posting like clips of the movie like from their phone. I'm like, put your phone away, stop recording. Like,
Oh yeah.
I have a soft spot if you want to take the title card drop and you just want to take a picture of it. Fine, like
Yeah.
it's gonna happen in this day and age. Like, I don't have a problem with that. Don't record the ending of the movie and then put it on Twitter.
It's some weird like thing for clout. Like, sometimes on our account I'll post like me at the movies, but it'll be like my ticket stub when the lights are still up, but before the trailers even start. The kind of respect.
The movie poster, the credits rolling, like something like that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like that's totally fine, but it's just like, so many. This could go a whole tangent of me bitching about like Martin movie day things where like people take out their flashlights to find their seats, which is the most annoying thing for me. That gets me every time. What are you doing?
Don't get me started, especially when they're coming
Yeah.
late. The movie's 5 minutes going, and I just see a flashlight pop up, and it's just like, excuse me. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. This isn't actually the right row. Janice, we gotta go up. We gotta go up a row. Janice. And you're just sitting there like, can I push you over?
Yeah.
Everybody sitting in front of you. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, but before we make this a 5-hour podcast, which we easily could, just bitching about the movie theater experience,
modern theater etiquette.
Etiquette, yeah, exactly. But yeah, fuck those people. Anyways, but Wicked, I mean, maybe I'll see it on streaming. I mean, I don't know. Have you copped up with any modern musicals? I mean, this year in the Heights.
It's weird. Like like West Side Story, so much better. I didn't see In the Heights. La La Land is the other like big modern musical that kind of comes to mind.
Yeah, that was 8 years ago.
I know, but you said modern. Like that is a modern movie, relatively.
Yeah.
It just like I think the music was really good. I just think the direction was poor in the movie. Like, and I just think it's like one of those movies that they tried to make too big, and it's obviously working. Like, it's already made its production budget back in the box office in like the first weekend, which is like all you can ask for to be on track for having a profitable movie. I just look at it and I go, okay, well, maybe it's time we I just wish it was done better. Like I feel like it could have just been done better, and then I hear it getting like best directing buzz and best picture buzz. I'm like, oh please, like.
Well, speaking of In the Heights, it's the guy that also directed In the Heights, and he directed Crazy Rich Asians. So like movies that like at least have a little bit more visual flair. So it's just like, what kind of happened? I mean, granted, I haven't seen the movie.
There's just a lot of there's going to be something like Wicked. There's just going to be a lot of executive talk and this, and like there's just a lot of CGI in the movie. And, like I feel like musicals don't really need CGI. Like when you go to a Broadway show or go to a musical theater wherever you may live, you can see the person with the dangling wire when they're coming down. And it's fine. Like you can suspend that illusion of belief. Now you can obviously do that a little better in the movies, but still, like it was a little over the top, and I just think they kind of bloated the script out a lot, but it was good. It was good. Go see Wicked. It's a good date movie. Take your lady. Go see Wicked. You'll have a good time. On the opposite end of the spectrum, this is 12 Angry Men.
12 Angry Men, Thursday night at 7. Thursday night on MeTV Movie Classics.
He stabbed his own father 4 inches into the chest.
Supposing they're wrong.
The odds are 1,000,000 to 1.
We're trying to put a guilty man in the chair where he belongs.
We're talking about somebody's life here.
12 Angry Men, Thursday night at 7 on MeTV Movie Classics.
Listen, it wasn't my cleanest transition of all time. That's all I'm going to say, but it was the only trailer I could find for this version of the movie that was under 20 seconds. Also only has 402 views from MeTV Chicago.
What the fuck is BTV?
That's the real thing I was wondering. I think it's like channel 6, like those weird channels that just like flutter. It's
like one
of
the things on like DirecTV when like I had my grandparents.
It's usually
house.
Like a region.
Right?
It seems like a regional channel,
Yeah. It's just like, I guess I'm gonna watch like this channel. Oh, they're playing Telegram, man. Fuck yeah, let's do it. Go.
Yeah. So, 12 Angry Men. I think a big thing to kind of discuss with this movie is the legacy, because it's a movie that I think everybody's heard of before, and I don't necessarily think they know about like what it actually is when you get into the ground. I think for me, like, I kind of wanted to start with like the actors, the performances, because this is a performance built movie. It's totally reliant on it.
I was thinking about like how this obviously has been in play. This started off as a like television film actually, more than anything. But I remember like our high school did a production of this, and I can just imagine like, oh god, can you imagine sitting through like, no offense to any of our Rye Theater alums that are listening.
Hey, we're both Rye Theater alums.
But I'm just saying, like, imagine sitting through a high school play version of this, where it's just like it's just dragging.
I think a play would be a little bit more dynamic because it's literally built like a play. Sidney Lumet said during it, it's like when the movie starts and when the movie ends, like no time has passed. Like this is just, it's a continuous take in terms of time itself. Like the movie's an hour and a half.
So I always like thought that this movie was like based on like a Broadway play, and like this was like a really popular thing that Henry Fonda wanted to do. That's just what I assumed, because there definitely has been Broadway versions of this. But it was originally like a teleplay on Studio One, Blenheim Channel, in like 1954. Yeah, the jurors. I'm not going to list all the actors' names right now, but 2 actors were in the teleplay that came onto the movie, and that was Sweeney and Vucevic. Sweeney played the old guy, and Vucevic played juror number 11. Yeah. So right there, I mean, you can see like right there. Okay, that's great. And then you think of the upgrade though, going to like Henry Fonda at the time, where it's just like
who played juror number 8 in the teleplay?
In the teleplay, to dig a little deeper for that.
Okay, yeah. So that's.
You want to take it?
We'll take a little bit of an upgrade there. I think this movie is a very interesting case of what the juror's experience is. I've not been called to jury duty. Actually, government, if you're listening, yes, I totally have, and you don't need to summon me. That's okay. But I think this is a very interesting case of like looking about how a jury actually deliberates a case and how our personal biases can come into and impact a case like this. Because really the case that Henry Fonda is making is, I'm not saying he isn't guilty when he rules not guilty at the beginning. He's saying, I just think we all owe this kid a little bit of due diligence to see if it makes sense that he did it, right? And I think there's a lot of arguments that are made that get really interesting, and it's very interesting how Lumet ends up using like every nook and cranny of that courtroom gets used.
Well, it's also the thing that like it really plays upon how like annoying jury duty can be, and I felt like in a way I related a lot to juror number.
Oh, can I guess? What? You relate the most to juror number 7, aka the guy that's got the tickets to the Yankee game. But instead of the Yankee game, you would have 2 tickets to like Aliens being re-released into theaters.
It's Aliens playing the Alamo Draft House at 8:00, man. Come on, let's get out of here. No, wait, but I do agree. Where it's just like sometimes it's just, I've been called for jury duty. Thankfully, I haven't been summoned. I was able to delay it, so we're gonna see what happens there. But it's like one of those things. Like anything I can do to get out of jury duty is what I can do. So to answer a previous question, we were asking who played the juror number 8 in the teleplay. It was Robert Cummings, who was in Dial M for Murder.
Okay.
Which I actually watched recently. So he's actually a good actor, but like again, Henry Fonda is just
the stage presence of a Henry Fonda, like you see at the moment he finally takes over the movie at the beginning, right? Like, because what I really like about this movie, and especially noticed it in my second time, is how well we're actually introduced to the characters in the beginning. All right, we have juror number 1. He's the foreman of this. He's calm. He's collected. He's just kind of getting people in order. I'm not going to go through everybody here, but who's highlighted right at the beginning? Juror number 3.
Yeah.
Played by Lee J. Cobb. He's a hot-tempered, hothead, very big, boisterous character, right? Like, makes his opinions heard. Juror number 7. And he's your comedic relief in this movie, right? Like that's his whole purpose in this, is just to give it some levity. He is just cracking joke after joke after joke, just trying to get out of there because he's got tickets to the ball games. It's New York and Cleveland tonight. He's got tickets. He doesn't want to be there. And juror number 10, played by Ed Begley, who is the racist juror. Yeah. And all, especially for those 3 who are, I would say, quote unquote, the most entertaining ones, like just the bigger characters, right? Like they take such a presence in the beginning for like an ensemble cast, where someone like juror number 2 or juror number 6, they don't really they kind of fade into the background, and I really enjoy that. Like,
yeah, the first half of the movie, like you really don't see a lot of the guys talk, and I was kind of expecting that to be a little bit more the case for like, oh, maybe we're not going to hear these guys, but I do like how eventually they are given a little bit more to do. Juror number 2, I thought was just a little great performance. Ossie Davis, actually no, sorry, that was the remake.
John Fielder.
John Fielder. He played Piglet in Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, which you can see the voice right there. He has that little like high pitched raspy voice. I just love how of all the people that are there for the jury duty, he's the one that's just like really stoked to be there. He's like, I've never been to jury duty before. Oh my god! And like I think it was juror number Ed Begley. He's just like, oh, dude, just what are you doing? Like, are you excited?
I've seen all these kind of cases, and let me tell you, I know when you're guilty. I just know, the type. There, and then you get someone like juror number 6, who he's the house painter, who we only really see him talk to juror number 8, Henry Fonda, in the bathroom, where I think he's guilty, because like all everybody really says at the beginning is like, I think he's guilty because of the evidence presented, but nobody questions the evidence at hand, right? Like,
I think it's more than anything, like, everyone just wants to get out of there. They're like, all right, they look around. I think it's plays into the casting that this is like an all-white cast, so they all look at each other like, oh, we all look the same. We're all going to think the same. And it isn't until like Henry Fonda starts talking and they realize they have different socioeconomic backgrounds, they have different nationalities and stuff like that. They realize like, okay, maybe we're not all the same right there. In the beginning, it's just like, all right, fuck it. And then Henry Fonda's just like, I don't know. Let's talk more. Let's
just talk about it. He's like, it wouldn't sleep well on my conscience that I sent a kid to the chair with a 5-minute discussion. Which is very valid. I think that's a valid opinion. That's a heavy sentence to swing. And I think this is where we should talk about some of the evidence that is counter presented, because the first big one is the knife. I think the knife is probably the most iconic prop of the movie. Basically, there is a switchblade knife that the father was stabbed with, allegedly by the son. Son claimed it fell out of his pocket. I kind of think like, hey, like, I must have just left it at home and the killer grabbed it and stabbed him.
Yeah.
might have been better defense than saying like it fell out of a hole in my pocket. But still, they talk.
Get a bad lawyer.
Yeah, they bring that up too. They say, "Hey, you have a public defender who, young case. Like he really has to believe in what he would be saying to try to even put a good argument together because he didn't put a good argument for this kid forward, and this kid is here on trial for his life." But they made a big point of saying that this switchblade is unique. The guy who sold him the switchblade said, "I've never seen one like it." And Henry Fonda just pulls out the exact same knife, laying it right next to each other with the oriental dragons on the back of it. It's it's a very unique kind of switchblade, and that's where we get juror number 9 to switch. Did you notice the lack of score in this movie, Tommy?
Yeah, and this didn't really affect me. I mean, there were some like little hit.
It was the beginning. There was the score. The only other time I noticed the score was when Henry Fonda calls for the first revote, where he says, "Listen, if it's still 11-0 or 11-1, I will switch to guilty. No problem. This is just where I stand. Let's go to another vote." And he like walks towards the door, just kind of like hoping that somebody will side with him. That's the only other time I noticed a score during the discussion. The last time I heard the score was when the movie's wrapped up and they're all walking out of the jury room.
And even then, like, if you talk about anything about 12 Angry Men, you're not going to be thinking about, like, raving about the score, really.
There isn't a score, but I think it's interesting and deliberate because it's meant to feel like a play. Like, it's a teleplay, but it's really meant to feel like a stage play.
The difference between this and, like, when we were talking about Dracula a couple months ago is, obviously 20 years have gone by at this point, but Sidney Lumet is just such a great visual director of like all the different close-ups he does where like people are talking. There's that one scene where like juror number 4 is talking about like, I don't know, some evidence or something like that, and the camera slowly zooms in and you see it slowly go more and more in. I feel like the cinematography of this movie is just incredible right here.
Cinematography is fantastic.
By Boris Kaufman.
And the framing of the camera is just incredible too. It's just kind of remarkable in that way because it's really challenging to take the same. Like I know I've never seen this movie, but I think it's Trap, right? Though M. Night Shyamalan with James McAvoy. What I've heard. Is,
no, Trap was the Josh Hartnett.
No, not Trap. What's the Split? Excuse me.
Yeah.
With Charles McAvoy, where it's all in one location. Like a small crowded room, and he just really utilizes like every inch of that like crawl space that they're in and makes it really interesting and visually engaging. And that's how I feel with this movie because he made a boring conference room interesting, and a part of that is just how he presents the characters, how the camera moves and pans as the conversation's unfolding, and it's letting the audience know what the other jurors are thinking while somebody else is talking.
And like this movie, even if you take away like the same performances, the same performances are still in there, and you don't have the cinematography. I don't feel like I like this movie. This would probably go down at least like a star or 2 for me in there, because I feel like that if you did like the more like the earlier era of like 1930s, like early sound, where the camera was just static shot. Right there.
Yeah, in the middle. No, this movie
wouldn't be as engaging. I would probably be checking out. I'd be like, kind of like watching this right now. I hate to say it, but yeah, the stacks camera shots just takes me out a little bit.
The framing, but it's the way the camera moves in relation with the light.
Yeah, I love how the camera moves from like person to person and stuff like that. There's a point in like within the first 20 minutes after they got in the room where I was wondering, is this movie going to try and pull off like a Birdman, where it's like one continuous shot throughout the whole movie? And I could have seen that easily work, but I feel like even though they had the little cuts, it still felt really dynamic in there. I just love how much I go from each juror to juror to juror. And I think one of the standout scenes of that example is just like how they just go, all right, everyone that said guilty, explain it. And they just move the camera. They don't cut. They just move the camera from person to person to person to person. And I was like, holy shit. What a way to shoot that.
And it's interesting, Tommy, because I think what you were saying, like you were talking about like static shots, but there is one powerful static shot when it's towards the end of the movie. So juror number 10, we've all learned, is a bit of like bit of a racist, a bit of a xenophobe. Not a bit. He is just like full on. And towards the end, he's had his breaking point, and he starts talking about, oh, these kind of people, blah, blah, blah. And the camera just slowly pans back to the corner of the room, and we just watch every other juror, except for juror number 4, step up, get away from the table, and not even listen to him. And E.G. juror number 4, who is strongly in the guilty camp, looks him in the eye after his racist tirade is done and goes, yes, we've heard enough of you. Now sit down and do not speak for the rest of the time you're here. Just like, we are done here. But I think it's very interesting. This movie came out in 1957, teleplay in 1954. But the movie is handling race like this, like,
yeah.
For the time, this feels very before the time.
And it's interesting in the fact that, like, the movie only shoots upon shows the kids that are talking about for like one like quick scene, one quick shot, and that's about it. And it just gets across enough right there. That's all we need to know.
And it's ambiguous of his race too. It's not. There's never made a point. There's never like juror number 10 is racist, but there's never. It's always, those types of people. They do this, they do that, but it's not like him throwing around racial slurs, right, and using like hard language that probably wouldn't have aged this movie as well, versus kind of leaving the race ambiguous in a black and white movie that we see for a second. You probably forget about it within 5 minutes of the movie, and just kind of like leaving it like that, other than he is a minority and he's from a lower income neighborhood. That's kind of it. That's kind of how it's communicated and illustrated to us. But I thought that was like the most powerful shot of the movie, is the one time the camera goes still, right? Like,
yeah, just great blocking in there too, of just showing it, just all you need to know right there. Like, everyone's just tired of this one guy's shit, and he said the most awful shit. It's like, all right, you're not being reasonable. Like, we're not listening to you anymore. Just stop.
Yeah. And it's weird that there's 3 very stubborn jurors, right? It's juror number 3, juror number 10, who we just discussed, and juror number 7. We mentioned juror number 7 before, but he's the comic relief. He doesn't want to be there. And what's interesting about a character arc for someone like that over a 90-minute period, he's just making quick snips, snipes, whatever, just making joke after joke, just trying to get out of there. When he finally, once the votes start coming in and it's more of like a 6-6 split in terms of guilty and not guilty, he just goes, fine, I find him not guilty. And there's a very powerful moment where juror number 11 comes over and says, why? It's like, I don't have to tell you that. Why? Are you telling me you really just saying not guilty just to get out of here? That's what's important to you? Like, and kind of challenges him on that belief. And what I thought was very interesting, from that moment on, he's silent. He doesn't talk anymore, because it's something I don't think he's like realized about himself, is like, he didn't realize kind of this, what was at stake, what they were actually deliberating. And
like, I think it was also a combination of that combination. He also checked out. That's weird, because like, even in the scene of like where juror number 10 is like going off in his like bigot rant, all the other characters face the wall or something like that. He just kind of just like moves his chair a little bit to the right. He's kind of half-assed with everything at that point.
You wouldn't be able to hear what Tommy said because he moved his head away from the mic, but he tilted his chair and just kind of looked away from it.
So like, basically like that's all that juror number 7 ends up doing during like the bigot rant.
But I thought it was very interesting and very powerful, because you kind of look at a character like that in this situation, and you go, like what, like how are you? He's the one that you go, how is this guy going to pivot? Because he doesn't care. But I think it's an interesting thought experiment of like, is that something that you sat in a court for 6 days, you really couldn't make your mind up over whether this person is guilty, not guilty, and can't listen to your peers discuss evidence and see if something is guilty or is not guilty? I just thought it was a very fascinating look into that character.
Uh, but I do want to talk about the one juror we haven't really mentioned really yet is juror number 12. I think he might have been my favorite character after Jack Warden. The Robert Weber, who was like, the advertising executive, looks just like fucking Don Draper. I mean, like straight out of Mad Men.
Straight out of Mad Men. No, he doesn't look like Don Draper. He looks like Harry Crane. If Harry Crane was like 20 pounds later, that's what he looks like, because it's the same glasses, the same haircut, like when early on in the show.
There's some great tweet that was making the rounds recently that's like, it's over. I just called you juror number 3, like the angry brash one. Well, I'm the cool, calm, collected juror number 12. Like, you don't have a chance.
What are you
here.
talking about? Juror number 12 was not cool, calm, and collected. He was indecisive and a flip-flopper. Like, that was the whole point of his character. He's a big verbose, he's got a little life to him. He's an advertising executive, but he goes from guilty to not guilty, and then back to guilty within the span of 5 minutes, and then back to not guilty within the span of another 5 minutes. And he only goes back to guilty because juror number 3 looks at him and goes, "Oh, what? You believe this? Huh? You kidding me?" He goes, "Yeah, you're right. Guilty." Like, the guy's a flip-flopper. What do you mean he's cool, calm, and collected?
Well, that's what the tweet was talking about.
Juror number 8's the cool, calm, and collected one. Henry Fonda.
Yeah.
The tweet's wrong.
Well, regardless, I think that I think that juror number 12, just how he's like, kind of distracting people. He has like undiagnosed ADHD. He's like, yeah, I just like to draw, like in the middle of the courtroom.
And he's just showing like he's just showing like Rice Krispies, like he's just showing like the boxer.
Like, look at this. And he's like, oh, you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of something that happens in advertising, where there's one guy and blah blah, blah, and everyone's just like, It's like, yeah. All right, let's move on, dude. Like, how's this relevant? Like, what are you talking about?
Like, oh, buddy,
he's just like bouncing off the wall.
Buddy, do not realize it's you right now.
He immediately goes on break and immediately has to kick up his legs. I thought it was just also a little funny comic performance right there too.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say this is like a funny movie. Like, I've been rewatching some Succession, which is like a drama, but it's a very funny drama. Like, I wouldn't say this is like a funny drama film, but it has its moments of levity from characters like juror number 7. Juror number 12 is probably the only other one that really kind of provides that lightness and freeness to the movie. I would think we need to talk about juror number 3. We've mentioned him enough, but really haven't gotten into him because he's like the heart of the movie. He is an owner of some delivery company that has a very strained relationship with his son, and he is very hot-headed. He's very against him being non-guilty, and it's not really from a racial sense. It's from him and his son having a fight, and he hasn't seen his son in 2 years. And
I like how they slowly revealed that out, though, of like how he has the son. They reveal it to the end of the movie.
Well, no, they show it at the beginning of the movie, but they don't show it's the real motive until the end of the movie, right? So it's sprinkled in, like, this guy has a son. Like, he shows it to one of the other jurors. He's like, "Yeah, this is my son," and he mentions, he's like, "I haven't seen him in 2 years. I said I would make a man out of him, and now I haven't seen him in 2 years." And then it goes to him coming around to it, realizing he's not really trying the kid that's on trial. He's seeing his son there because he feels like he was stabbed in the chest by his son, and seeing another kid on trial for that, he can't see it any other way. And it's, despite seeing juror number 10 and his racist tirades, this is the most personal bias can inflict on a movie like this, right? And it's very powerful in this. And LG Cobb is he's so great as this brash, hot-headed, like...
Well, even the beginning, I just love how this movie just gives you like at least like a quick 5-10 minute window of them just interacting, but not talking about the case and just shooting the shit and stuff like that. And I thought that Lee Cobb immediately was like so compelling. And I was thinking throughout the movie, I was like, all right, where have I seen him? And I didn't realize until before we started recording, you mentioned Lee J. Cobb is in The Exorcist. He is what's his name?
He's the detective.
He's the detective. He always talks about like the movies and stuff. Kinderman. And it doesn't shock me. This is actually a weird trivia fact. So George C. Scott has now played 2 different Lee J. Cobb roles because he was juror number 3 in the William Friedkin teleplay of this. Or,
George C. Scott was.
Yeah, George C. Scott. And George C. Scott also played Lieutenant Kinderman in The Exorcist 3. So I guess there's like something you can see the connection right there. They definitely are similar actors.
You know, it's so odd. I swear to God, I was just Googling who's the guy in Doctor Strangelove, and I was like, I'm pretty sure it's George C. Scott, because I was just thinking like it is such a George C. Scott kind of like performance, like something he would be influenced in Doctor Strangelove is like kind of pulling this like hot-headed, militaristic, like tough guy performance out of his hat, and I don't know. That's just it's serendipity. That's what 3 years of podcasting together gets us there, Tommy.
Yeah. We figure out that George C. Scott has played 2 different Lee J. Cobb roles, and that's what you get this podcast for.
We both think about it. When you think about this movie, is like on a thematic level, it's really about the common man holding out against a lynch mob mentality. And it's interesting because it kind of like flips that on its head, right? Because that was like, it was a lynch mob mentality until it became a lynch mob mentality again for not guilty. And I think a really interesting point in this movie is that like they don't have like the conclusive evidence to say not guilty, but I still feel like there's a lot of there's still a lot of evidence there that would maybe lead to him guilty. Like they kind of debunk everything, but not in a way I think a court would be able to approve. Like the eyeglasses, right? Like where,
Well, no. At the end of the day, like all it is like, it's beyond a reasonable doubt, and all of them now have doubt within that situation. So like, okay, this is why it's not going to work, right there. And this is definitely like more than anything, like this is all about the McCarthyism in a way. This is the era where like so many people were like the Red Scare, actors getting prosecuted for like being commies and stuff like that, and just like how it became like a whole like lynch mob hysteria throughout Hollywood. And this definitely was one of like a rebuttals of this of the McCarthy area. Like, all right, McCarthy, like fuck off. No, this isn't right.
Well, so I just want to say this. This is a quote from 2010 of Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor. Stated that seeing 12 Angry Men while she was in college influenced her decision to pursue a career in law. She was particularly inspired by immigrant juror 11's monologue on the reverence for the American justice system. She also told the audience of law students that as a lower court judge, she would sometimes instruct juries to not follow the film's example because most of the jurors' conclusions are based on speculation, not fact. Sotomayor noted that in events such as juror number 8 entering a similar knife into the proceeding, performing outside research into the case matter in the first place, and ultimately the jury as a whole making a broad, wide-ranging assumptions far beyond the scope of reasonable doubt, such as interferences regarding the woman wearing glasses, would not be allowed in a real-life jury situation, and in fact would have yielded a mistrial. So, listen, I'm not a legal expert. I'm going to leave it to a Supreme Court justice to have a better analysis of the law. I was kind of baiting you before, Tommy. I don't know if you noticed that, where I said, like, it's a lot of, like, circumstantial evidence. I was kind of baiting you because I had this one pulled up. I was ready to go.
Yeah.
But I don't think that takes away from the movie at all, that it doesn't work in that, because it's more about the themes and the ideas, right? And it's about the representation of McCarthyism at that time.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're watching a movie. We're not here for like exactly 100% like accuracy in terms of the legal justice system. And this is still a compelling thing. Right? This movie's also used apparently for like conflict resolution, and like some businesses they'll show them like, all right, this is like how you get past a problem or something. So there's that. Now I'm kind of shocked. This movie didn't really win like any Oscars at the time, and this also is giving me the parallel of another movie we've covered, another movie I'm also wearing a shirt of, The Thing. So, that also has 12 men isolated by themselves right there, and also was a movie that did terrible at the box office at the time. This movie did not make a profit. What's his name? Henry Fonda wasn't paid for this essentially because he deferred his salary, and if wanted to go into points instead. So at the end of the day, there's a version of this movie was just forgotten, but this is like probably one of the first television rewatchables. We're like, this is probably the early version of the TNT heater, where it's just like, all 12 Angry Men's coming on. I gotta watch this right now.
And part of the reason
that's where it gained its esteem.
And part of this, this is in 4:3. The advent of color and widescreen productions kind of makes a courtroom drama in black and white in 4:3, like film and aspect ratio, make it a little less enticing for a modern audience of 1957s to go run to the theaters when they can go see like Rebel Without a Cause, something with a little more juice and action. But it did really find its audience on that television. But now it's revered as one of the greatest movies of all time. It's on the AFI Top 100 list. On IMDb, it's like top 10.
Oh, yeah. I mean, right now on IMDb, this has something insane, like 9 out of 10, which for IMDb is like really fucking good. Yeah, it's 9.
Very high for
that's what I said.
IMDb.
So, as I said earlier, though, this wasn't really nominated for Oscars. Now, this is a movie I know you watched before, because you mentioned on this pod. So it's nominated for Best Picture. Did not win. It lost to The Bridge on the River Kwai. Do you think that's fair?
I think that's so fair.
Okay.
I think that's so... listen, I love this movie. In terms of, like, if we're going to talk about, like, we're covering The Bridge on the River Kwai January or February of this next year. The scope, the scale of that movie relative to this, like, this is impressive on what you could do on a paper dollar budget with great performances. The Bridge on the River Kwai is massive, especially for 1957. So really impressive movie. I'm totally fine with that. I have no problems, no quarrels.
Yeah, same thing. Won Best Director. I mean, but I'm really shocked we didn't get like a Best Supporting Actor for Lee J. Cobb nomination in there.
You know what I think it is, though? You have 12 great performances in this movie.
It's almost an ensemble piece at that point.
It's an ensemble piece. You almost eat at each other, right? Mm. You almost eat at each other's performances. Speaking of performances, it's time to figure out who the star of the show is.
I am a star. I'm a star, I'm a star, I'm a star. I am a big, bright, shining star.
All right, Tommy, who do you think gave the best performance here? Because I think this is sometimes we go into them and we're just like, yeah, it's this person, but I think this is one where we have to kind of debate it out a little bit.
So, there's some people we haven't even mentioned, like, whatsoever. I just want to shout them out real quick. Juror number 1, the foreman. He's cool. He's nice. Good performance. Jack Klugman, who I was wondering for a little bit, is that Donald Sutherland? And what's interesting about Jack Klugman is that, I just watched the DVD and that special feature that was like, the making of 12 Angry Men. And this was probably filmed around, 2006 because they're promoting the fact that George Wendt from Cheers was in a national touring production of this. It's like, oh, whoop-de-doo. And the only person who's alive at this point was Sidney Lumet and Jack Klugman. And Jack Klugman's just has half a voice. He's pretty much at death's door. And he's just talking about how I loved all these actors. I was so honored to be with them. And it was such a great time in my life. It's just clearly I had nothing really more to say other than that. But he was great. I think Jack Klugman, he gave a nice, quiet performance. It still was very compelling. We didn't really talk about juror number 6, who's just kind of just
he's the painter.
He respect your elders.
Yeah, he didn't really have much to do. We didn't really mention juror number 9, Joseph Sweeney, who he's the first convert of the holdouts. He's very wise and insightful, and it's really just terrific performance of it's a very gentle performance in a very testosterone driven room full of a lot of angry men, if you will.
He's and Lumet gives him some great close-ups right there. I feel like just zooms in on his face.
Yeah, 100%. He does that, and then I guess George Voskovec, the polite European watchmaker. We didn't really discuss him either. I thought he was he gave that great monologue that uh, Supreme Court Justice Sotomayor mentioned, of describing why he was excited to be there and the impact of the American judicial system and how it's not everywhere. It's a really powerful speech as well. Those are kind of the jurors that we did leave out here, but we're on a pace here. I'm going to go first here because I think the best performance in this movie is L.J. Cobb.
Yeah.
Henry Fonda is the cool, calm, collected one. He gives a great everyman performance, but it's kind of for everybody else, for all these characters to kind of bounce off of here. LG Cobb is an asshole, yet you still at the end of the movie feel empathy for him, right? When he
goes through a whole like different like character arc right there of like, I think he's just the great like driving force of the narrative right here, because he's the one that like really like wants to stick it to Henry Fonda
and to this kid
and to this kid more than anything. So I think that I agree with you. I think it's definitely Lee J. Cobb. I do also want to shout out John Fielder because I think he was just such a great little like. Oh, I'm so glad
for that meek. It's such a meek performance.
Yeah.
Henry Fonda is also excellent. Ed Begley also terrific. But if I had to pick one, it's L.J. Cobb. I just think the humanity he brings to kind of a disgusting person and allows you to feel empathy towards him is very difficult to do, and I think he nails it on the head.
Are you ready, comedy partner? Waka waka. Okay.
All right, Tommy. Would 12 Angry Men work as a Muppet adaptation? Now, I know what you're thinking at first. No. But this has been adapted so many different ways. Why couldn't it work?
Oh, 100% this could work as a Muppet adaptation. I mean, we opened up the episode how I watched the Family Guy parody of this. So,
a Muppet
just right there. Yeah, a Muppet parody of this would easily work right there. I mean, Kermit would probably be juror number 8.
Yeah.
Lee J. Cobb, juror number 3.
So Statler and Waldorf are juror number 3 and juror number 10. Easily.
Okay, yeah, right there. You're
juror number 3,
you got it right there.
Juror number 10.
Sam the Eagle is juror number 4.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. Juror number 7 is Fozzie.
Yeah.
Now stick with me here. Juror number 11 is Gonzo.
Okay.
Juror number 1 is Scooter.
Okay. I can see that.
Who?
Yeah. If you keep one human, do we just keep juror number 9 or
keep just like one old man and 11 Muppets?
Exactly. It's just going right there. It's like, I think we should listen to the Muppet right here. I think we should listen to.
Actually, what if we just keep juror number 3? We just keep L.J. Cobb, and we just.
So you guys are all puppets. What are you talking about here?
We just hear him yelling at Muppets. That would be pretty funny.
Yeah,
that would be pretty funny. I think that's a low-budget Muppet movie. Disney, you Muppet-hating company, you're taking down Muppet 3D Vision and Universal Studios. What are you doing?
The whole Muppet controversies lately.
What are you doing? Oh, yeah. Let's not get into that. All right, Tommy. Review time. Give me a score out of 5. 12 Angry Men.
All right, 12 Angry Men, and really compelling movie, amazing direction right here. Usually I've lamented sometimes in past movies, I probably like, oh, the score wasn't really there, or like I feel like that older movie sometimes, yet I did not feel this in this. I feel like it was just such great direction, such great blocking, such great performances. There's nothing really I can say about this movie that's bad. I'm going to go 5 out of 5, I think. Great watch.
Yes, Tommy. Yes. I agree with you. 5 out of 5. This is an iconic American movie. This is the power of a great director with a camera with 12 great actors. What can you do in a room with a great script? And they knock it out of the park. It's truly an engaging drama. It's something that you're going to think, oh, black and white courtroom drama from the 1950s. Boring. It is not boring. It is riveting. It is a great capture of humanity, and it's a great exploration of these 12 men. 5 out of 5. And you know what that means, Tommy.
Pour myself a cognac, and I watch the 14 Fists of McCluskey. What a picture. What a picture.
Good picture.
It's a good picture. We don't give that award out often. To get 5 out of 5 from both of us, very rare. I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre and this are the only 2 movies this year that we've given the What a Picture award to.
Such similar movies.
So very, very similar movies. But Tommy, any final thoughts before we wrap up this episode?
All right. So thank you guys so much for listening. You can find us on social media. That's at Seen It Pod. That's on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and we're also on Blue Sky, and we're Pod Seen It, I believe, on that. And at least a 5-star review, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Helps us out, helps us grow the show. And Timmy, I'm going to throw this one out here. It's Christmas season. I think there's a movie we should cover that I have never seen before.
What is it?
Love Actually.
Done. Agreed.
All right. So next week we're going to be doing Love Actually.
All right. Love Actually. Looking forward to it. Thank you all so much for listening today. We will see you next time.